Hello everyone, it is November 22nd, 2018. In the United States, it is Happy Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I will let you read through the fair use while I talk here and just give you a little indication of what is coming in this video. I might end up having to go into two different parts because this might get long. I'm just going to have to see how it goes. These cameras have limited recording time, not as long as a PC would have, and I don't have access to one. I'm going to start out on the earthly realms, and then I'm going to move up to the higher very quickly. So here we go. Okay, this is going to start out in the oddest place, but as you can see, we're at an audience hall showing a roof. In particular, you can see who put this out, just a thumbnail. Get a better idea of what it is right there. Middle of Rome. Okay, this is showing the construction of this facility back in 1970. You can see who put the picture out. All the work that's going on. Massive place. Now, way back here, there is a massive altar. And you can see this is quite modern, but it is not what it appears to be. Lots and lots of people can pack in this thing. You can see it's full of thousands and thousands. And there's the teeny little guy there that I think we're all very familiar with. And you can see a massive sculpture back behind him. Okay, just a little bit of a closer look right there. Now here is the statue. I thought this was fascinating when I got up closer and looked. This thing is mortifying. Now, you can see from a distance again, the facility. Packed with people. It's called The Resurrection. Now, I want you to look at what you're seeing here. When this is taken with a wide-angle lens, I am not even going to fill you in. If you do not have eyes to see what you're seeing here, I don't know what to say. Okay, now, I'm going to actually have to pause this at a period of time. I looked back at this sculpture again later on, and it's not ready for the video, so I will pause and go to a different picture. I was utterly mortified at what I saw here. Okay, so here's a very modern looking sculpture, again called The Resurrection. Now, here is the face on this thing. Now, what you're looking at, I think, is very strange. Modernists would just say, oh, well, that's what this is. But, you know, you see very thin hair here, wispy stuff. This is human scale. What is this massive clump here? I mean, nobody has hair like that. And, you know, supposedly this is supposed to look like it's analogous with the wind blowing one side of his head. Okay, so we'll just go with that for a minute. But again, as I said, so much can be hidden in plain sight. So we see this again. Now, look what happens when you bifurcate the face and you look at this at an angle. What do you see? Do you see something there? I do. Do you see that? So, we saw what we saw with this audience hall. Now look at what you're seeing with this sculpture. Okay, now I'm going to have to pause this. I'm going to go to a different place to show you something else I just found. Okay, we're still looking at the sculpture. I want you to look really closely at these feet, this leg. Look at the entire leg itself. This leg is, even with the thin frame that our Savior has depicted here, look at what you got going on here. Look how thin this gets. Now look at what you see going on here. 1, 2, 3. So again, we're looking at it from a different vantage point. Again, look at what you're seeing on those feet. It's like a creep show to me. It's so mortifying. Now look at what it looks like. 1, 2, 3. What do we got here? This is consistent in anatomy on the one side. Okay, so we're back up to this. You can see what I see. Now, interestingly enough, Strong's Hebrew. I think we've all heard the old Christmas songs with the cherubim and the seraphim. Those songs have been around for a very long time, probably centuries, but we do know those two orders of angels, and you can see what is the definition of the seraph. So there we go. Now, this is just getting a little bit into the gentleman that I've brought up in other videos, who he believes God is. And of course, we have, again, 13. These numbers I'm going to bring up again and again and again. They are consistent with this group. That number right there and that number right there are consistent. Now, that's who I believe is my Savior. That's who I've given myself to. Now we've got, again, chapter 13 of the book of Revelation. It reads, "Let the one with understanding reckon the meaning of the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666. Okay, we got these numbers floating around everywhere regarding this group. Okay, this is one of them. Again, what do we see going on here? Same theme we've seen again and again and again in the other videos. Now, what do you see here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Count the stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Under Egypt. They're showing you something. Now, there are 3 main and 3 ancillary stars, but again, they conform to the belt of Orion. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All the pyramids of the world conform to this. So, you've got this, if you want to worship, or you got this. Now again, chapter 13, 666. Now what do we got here? This is so in our face. We've got 1, 2, 3 of those. Now, again, we've gone up into the heavens here, haven't we? Astronaut, you can see her name. Again, I found that humorous just because of the number. Now, again, we have boom, 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 days floating up in space. Now, here is where I go into the conveyance of shapes and what shapes mean to this group. They do not really use language. They use numbers and they use shapes and iconography. So here you've got 3 men that are praying. Interesting what they're doing. It looks like they're praying to the Apollo capsule. But again, what are they really doing? They're looking at a shape, aren't they? Okay, so we got a shape. Now we got a shape. Very interesting. And we got this shape that's represented by that church. And again, just another example. I really like this architecture. That church there, boom, way up at the top. Again, they're doing what they're doing. Chapter 13, 666. Okay, what do we got John Paul doing here? Very strange. People just don't do this. They don't behave this way. I've never done that in my life. Why would you take a photograph to be put on a major magazine for astronomy? And why would this man, of all people, be doing this sign? And again, shapes are conveyance. Chapter 13, 666. Connecting dots. Now we've got that church discussing right here their special telescope that they will take no credit for. They say it's their next door neighbors. I'll just let you determine the truth of that. So here's the name of it. It's over in Tucson. And of course, it's run by this group. A lot of interest in a church in what's going on in the heavens above us and using a lens to see it. Now, interestingly enough, those 3 men praying died in a fire in a capsule, in a test. Now, do you really think that a capsule on the ground is going to burst into flames on the inside and 3 perish on the inside? This is satanic inversion, more likely from the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That's just my guess. And no angel came to help them. So you've got these 3 men who have obviously given themselves over, and they were used as a sacrifice to that. Now we've got Revelation 12:3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads. What do we got here? This was a covert mission early this year that was launched by NASA. Now, there were several launches done by other governments throughout the world at the same time. It's extremely secret. Nobody was talking about this. I mentioned this in my last video with regard to what this signifies. It is a myth or not that there is a satellite that has been above Earth for many thousands of years now. It's called the Black Knight satellite. This is actually the personification of it. Now we've got the red dragon you just saw from 12:3. Now, what does that mean in the Bible? The dragon is a signification of the devil or Satan. Now, we've got NASA having started this way back decades ago, even before I was born. They began using cloth patches for shirts to identify each of their missions. I'm just showing people the iconography that you're seeing here. Why is a space agency using these symbols? This is an Egyptian symbol here, and through the fire, and that's the phoenix. And he is spearing something, not sure what it is. And how many stars do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Revelation 12:3. Another sign appeared in heaven, a great red dragon having 7 heads. Okay, this is from NASA's website itself right here. What do you see? I mean, it's really just connecting dots. Do you know the hour? Okay, we got this guy. I think we all know who he is and what he stood for back in the 70s. This is Mr. Simmons. Strange thing that these people use this. This is, a lot of people would say that this is just what's trending right now. This has been used for many decades, though I've never used it. And until recently, I don't think most people were even aware that it was around. He knew it was around back in the day, and we know what the name of that group in an acronym stands for. King's Inn. So here we go. All these symbols being used by this group. And we're back to that again. What are we looking at? What are we staring down the mall? And how very interesting. What's way down in there in this massive thing here? We got right in the core, we got that little old statue. And that statue has been morphing into something else. And we know what it's trying to signify. Now, again, look at what you're seeing here. The comparisons. Boom to boom. Now, what is this on? It's on an ancient hieroglyph. Again, Egyptian. Egyptian. What is this thing? I mean, what a strange looking creature. Back to this chapter and the number. Now we have 13 of these. If you count those, that's what this stands for in the back of your dollar bill. Now, again, we have this, and we have this number in this city. This book ties it all together. Now, this is what was in the book, and it is referred to as heavenly technology. Actually, heavenly knowledge. This, in and of itself, is a cult. I discussed this in my last video, that this is divination, black magic. You're not supposed to engage in this. However, there is some truth in what this is in revealing constellations and things that we're not supposed to understand until, unfortunately, the time we're in now. What you're looking at, though, is the zodiac wheel. This is a satanic inversion of the Hebrew star charts. So I was born in August. I was born under this. Now, this is the irony. This Virgo and what you see here is exactly what you would see if the day I was born, you had to look into the sun. So this constellation was not even viewable until you're looking actually into the sun in the middle of the day. That's just not how we use stars. So the actual truth of what you're seeing here is the stars that were above the sky at night on the day I was born were these stars. Satanic inversion. But again, the being that wants to hold that personification to have you ignore all of this, who wants our realm, it's about him. And he wants you to keep your focus in on one thing, not all those other things. Again, 13th sign. We have Ophiuchus, been used as a sidereal astrology as the 13th sign, in addition to the 12 signs of the zodiac, because of, and then we go into exactly what it's called and what its personification is. Okay, here we see how someone has actually inserted it into the star charts. I brought this up in my last video in numbers, and I'll do it here again. This is actually satanic inversion. You've got it right here as you see it. Now we've got the sigil of Baphomet, and as you can read, insignia of the Church of Satan. We had Anton LaVey who talks about it here, denoting about inverting crosses. Okay, a black mass. That is the exact opposite of what we consider Mass to be about. Mass is about purification. This is exactly the opposite of that, defiling. Satanism, again and again, it's the same thing, inverted, inverting everything. Decoding the symbols on the statues. People have to look at all of these things. So, let's just assume that this has been done in the same manner here. We've got the constellation. Let's go directly across. And where would that slam in? Okay, right there next to Taurus. What do we got next to Taurus? We got that. Boom, 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 boom. So here we go. There we've got our pyramids again. Now we have this in the Bible, Job 38:31. Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? I brought this up in the last video, actually the video of the ex-presidents, that a massive sacrifice is going to be done with this group being the one who gets the dedication. It's really morbid. But again, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? This and this is referenced in the book of Enoch. The Pleiades are 7 stars, and in the book of Enoch you hear about the 7 stars bound in a void for 10,000 years. Now, back in September 23rd of 2017, for the first time in 7,000 years, we had this configuration. I would have you just look at this. I really don't want to go into the explanation of it, but we have stars in alignment with planets in a certain constellation. Again, now, look what you're seeing right here. Now let's explain what a belt is. Think about a belt that you wear around your waist, or a belt that you see in a car that's in between 2 gears. The thing rotates. If you put any object on a belt in a car and it moves in and out, what does it do? It goes from one side to the other side, back and forth again and again. This means something much more significant than what we ever could have understood. This is asking all of us a rhetorical question. Can you loosen that belt? What do you see here? You got a belt. Where does this belt go on the other end, though? Here's us. What is this? Now we have NASA being notified by Inuit elders that the Earth's axis shifted. They noted it several years back, that the sun was not coming up or setting in the right place. I noticed this as well. I've actually taken video of this, and I'll show that in another video that I make myself about signs. So they've noticed it. Farmers have noticed it. A lot of people have their heads too far down in their cell phones to be paying attention and looking up and seeing what's going on around them. Now we also have global warming that's been taking place. You can see all of this. Now this was put out by MIT. Now you're going to find a lot of people that will say the exact opposite. No, the solar system's cooling down. The Earth is heating up. It's all scientific blather being put out by this group. If you understand who this group is, you understand that this group actually controls our science. So we've had monster dust storms just recently. Again, MIT. Revelation 12:3. And another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon, enormous, with 7 heads. 7 Earth-sized planets orbit dwarf star. New York Times. All 7 are very close to the dwarf star, circling more quickly than the planets in our solar system. Okay, I could go into a little bit about what this is. This is called the TRAPPIST system. This is us being mocked. They are telling us, but they're saying this is much farther away. This is the exact description of what people have been filming all over the world right now. And of course, we've got agnostics. that understand this. They don't read the Bible. They have no clue what they're actually looking at, but it's all conspiracy, guys. Everybody looks at this stuff, and I was led to believe this was just silliness. I never took any of this stuff seriously at all. I started noticing late last year there was something wrong with the earth. I saw that there were shorelines pulling out all over the place. There were waves that were hitting ocean coastlines, revealing things that people hadn't seen in thousands of years. I think off England, they had ancient pottery and petrified forests that were seen about a half a mile out from shore. No tsunamis, no earthquakes. The water was just mysteriously pulling out. Now we've also got pictures of the sun. What do you got here? Very odd things that people have been filming over periods of time. I just saw this video the other day. It's a video. Guy in a camera in a jetliner took this. He just happened to be holding his camera out the window, and he saw this. Now, on my trip here to Israel, I was at 35,000 feet. You're not supposed to actually have anything but crystal blue skies above the elevation of the clouds. You can see they are doing something heavily up here. I will tell you, it was absolutely insane on my trip to Israel. I saw so many, it looked like silly string in the sky everywhere around me, just patchwork. I've never seen anything like that when I got into a plane before. It was the very first time. He's smearing the window, trying to show people what he's seeing behind it. That's what he sees. That's what people all over the world have been recording. Now, there's others that are awake to this. They know what's here, and they know what it signifies. They think their God has arrived. I want people to take a close look at what you're seeing right here. This is Akhenaten and Nefertiti. This is an ancient hieroglyph. Okay, we've got sun worship going on here again, and we've got two children. And of course, we have the serpent right here. What do you see here? I mean, really take a look at these children. Is that a human head? Are these body proportions? Look at these thick, chunky legs. Look at this little pot belly. There's a little pot belly on her, too, or on it. These are not human beings. Now, you can say that this is just artistic rendering, but we also have an issue. We've got these that have been found over the years, too, and have been hidden away. So, we also have studies that have been done regarding skull binding. They're finding that these extended craniums are in pre-utero. So, this is nothing to do with skull binding. So, what do you got here? What is this? Now, this helmet, again, that's not for style. That is for that. So you have a reason these things are on them. This is the first hybrid. And what are they holding up? Those are not gems, ladies and gentlemen. Those are eggs. Okay, we have going way back in time, we have these old statues. People wondered what they're about. Now we have the book of Genesis. So the Lord God said to the serpent, because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly, and you will eat dust all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. Okay, that seems to be a lot about a serpent. I don't have any problem with snakes on the ground, garden snakes. This is not what it's talking about. We have the belt. Now this is what it brings. This is the blue and red kachina mentioned by the Hopi Indian legend. This is the blue kachina. This is the destroyer. Now we have in Isaiah, the earth reels like a drunkard. It sways like a hut in the wind. So heavy upon it is its guilt of its rebellion that it falls, never to rise again. The earth will not be called the earth after this takes place. In fact, unless the Lord shortens this time of calamity, note, not a single person will survive, but for the sake of his chosen ones, he has shortened those days. And another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads, and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its head. Now this is where it gets terrifying. And this is why we have to put on the full armor of God. 10 horns, 7 crowns. A crown, circular ornament headdress worn by the monarch, is a symbol of authority. So what are they saying? It sounds like something is on these. Now what is this? Look at this. What are we seeing here physically? Okay, This is in the Bible. The locusts that look like horses prepared for battle. This is Revelation. On their heads they wore something like crowns of gold, and their faces resembled human faces. Their hair was like a woman's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. They had breastplates like breastplates of iron. Now, it goes into what these things do to mankind. What do we got going on here? Hair like a woman's, breastplates. Revelation also has, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon. This looks like a frog to me. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Be careful, or your hearts will be weighed down with carousing, drunkenness, and the anxieties of life, and that day will close on you suddenly like a trap, for it will come on all those who live on the face of the earth, all of those. Be always on the watch, and pray that you may be able to escape all that is about to happen, and that you may be able to stand before the Son of Man. Now there's other parts of the Bible that talk about this. I'm going to run short on time here. I'm going to show you. That's Revelation chapter 9. It talks about the numbers of people that will be inflicted with this. 2.5 billion people will die on the earth because of what's coming. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against blood and flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. We have praying to put on the full armor, the breastplate of righteousness, the sword of the Spirit, shoes of the gospel of truth, of peace, helmet of salvation, shield of faith, and the belt of truth. Everything to Abba's glory. Read me. God bless everyone.